What's up, YouTube? It's OllieBeanz from iFreaking Love This, and today we're going to be comparing the Logitech G305 versus the G Pro Wireless, also by Logitech. We're going to be going over physical dimensions, weight, pull rate, some popular mods, and more. So let's get right into the G305 versus G Pro Wireless review and comparison. So let's start with the G305 by Logitech. It's a great mouse. Currently costs only $38 on Amazon at the time of this recording. I'll have a link down in the description below for if you want to pick one up. Let's start with the physical dimensions. The height of the mouse is 116.6 millimeters or 4.59 inches. The width is 62.15 millimeters or 2.45 inches. And then the depth, which I would consider the height, is 38.2 millimeters or 1.5 inches. Now for the weight, it's advertised as weighing at 99 grams, but when I weighed mine, it weighed in only at 97 grams. But then there's also, you can take this cover off here, and it usually takes a AA battery. With this mod, that is the size of a AA battery, and I'll have a link down to this in the description below as well for you, but it uses a AAA, it reduces that weight down to 89 grams, which is a considerable amount of weight taken off. And let's talk about some of the specs. So it has 12,000 max DPI, and that's dots per inch. And that's a lot. You're never going to use 12,000 DPI on your mouse in day-to-day activities. I usually run mine. I have presets for 400, 800, 1200, 2000, and 3000. And so I'm never even going near 12,000. And to put that into perspective, right, DPI is dots per inch. So if you had this set to 12,000, right, moving it 1 inch would move it 12,000 pixels across your screen, right? A 1080 monitor is only 1,920 pixels across. So say, for example, I had this set to 2,000 DPI, moving it 1 inch would move it more than an entire 1080p screen. So again, that's a lot of that's marketing for the higher DPIs. It does have zero smoothing, acceleration, or filtering, and all that means is no matter how fast you're moving the mouse or changing direction, it's going to report its position and the speed at which it's moving in real time. It's not going to be accelerated or smoothed or filtered out. It does have a 1 millisecond report rate, and what that means is that 1,000 times a second, the mouse is telling your computer where it is. So you're going to get quick response time. Gone are the days of where wireless mice can't keep up with wired mice. I don't see any latency between this G305 and my G502 that's wired. It does have one onboard profile, meaning you can save a profile in your settings directly to the mouse itself. It does use a mechanical button tensioning system for the actual clicks itself, and that means you could replace these with something like kill switches, which I'm actually probably going to do both on my 305 and G Pro. It has a 250-hour battery life, but remember, that is using a AA, not the AAA mod. I can't give you a hard figure on this, but I've had this one AAA in there for months, but it is on my secondary machine, and it still looks about 80% charged. It's not compatible with the Logitech G PowerPlay wireless charging system. So you will need to use a AA battery for this. There is no other way to charge this unless, of course, you're using rechargeable batteries, and then you would use that charger. Speaking of the Logitech the Logitech G PowerPlay wireless charging system, it is compatible with the Logitech G Pro Wireless, so let's take a look at that now. Now let's take a look at the Logitech G Pro Wireless. This is my daily driver. It's currently on sale on Amazon for around 89 bucks. I'll link to it down below for you. And it's a great mouse at that price. The physical dimensions of this, for the height or the length, you've got 125 millimeters, which translates to 4.92 inches, a width of 63.5 millimeters, which translates to 2.5 inches, and a depth or a height of 40 millimeters, which translates to 1.57 inches. Now, in this current configuration with the disc, this weighs 80 grams, and that's the advertised weight, and then that's also what it weighed on for mine as well. This you only need if you're using something like the Logitech G PowerPlay wireless mat, which I don't use because I like these big full desk mats instead. And so I actually don't use this disc, and without this disc, you could bring it down to 77 grams. So you're taking about 3 grams off with this disc here. And I'll link the charger I use. That's a standalone wireless charger that I just put it on every night. I did a video review of it. I'll link that below and on screen somewhere right now for you. The specs on here, so the internals, we've got 25,600 max DPI, dots per inch. And just like how I said with the G305, that number is mainly advertising, right? You're never going to need 25,000 DPI. Again, you're probably going to never use more than 1,000, 3,000. It also has zero smoothing, acceleration, or filtering. So how the mouse moves in physical space is how it will move on the computer. A 1 millisecond report rate, which means it reports its position to your computer 1,000 times a second, and 5 onboard profiles. It also does have a mechanical button tensioning system, which does mean you can swap these out with some Kale switches, which I might actually do on here. And it has a 48 to 60 hour battery life. Now, that's long, but I really don't need more than 18 hours, right? I just throw it on my charger at the end of the day and take it off, and I'm good to go. You can also charge it with a cable here, but I don't think any of you are really going to be using that with everything available to charge this mouse. And as we already talked about, it is compatible with the Logitech G PowerPlay wireless charging system. Now let's get into what separates this and the G305 from each other to help you make a better decision on which one might be right for you. All right, now let's compare the physical specs. I've got the Logitech G305 on the left and the Logitech G Pro Wireless on the right. And so let's kind of bring these together here. You can see the Logitech G Pro Wireless is about a half an inch taller or longer than the Logitech G305. It's also just a little bit wider. I think it's 0.05 inches wider. And then for the depth or the height, it's only about 2 millimeters taller. This one's a little bit of, the G Pro Wireless is a little bit of a bigger mouse, but nothing that's really gonna separate it, right? This angle I have on my camera kind of makes it look a little more bigger, yeah, a little bigger than it really is. That might be a little bit more accurate there for you. And so physical dimensions, very similar. Weight though, with the charging disc here on the Logitech G Pro Wireless, you're shaving off on a non-modded, so without that, AAA battery mod, you're shaving off 20 grams. Right? And then on a modded one, you're shaving off around 12 grams. So 12 grams isn't going to be that big of a deal. So if weight is a really big factor and you move it around a lot and, maybe your wrist gets tired, go for the G Pro Wireless. But I wouldn't really make that a deciding factor unless you're really sensitive to mouse weights, right? Because they're very close, especially when you use that mod on the G305. Both well built. Both use the same plastic. It looks like it's ABS. This one hasn't shined as much because I don't use this one as much, the G305, because it's on my secondary computer. And this one shines a little bit more because I've owned it longer and this is my daily driver. But still looking good. And you can get skins for both of these, by the way. I'll see if I can link to a couple down below. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but you can customize these as well as swapping out the switches on the internals, the Kale switches there. All right, let's go into the the internals and the actual specs comparison. All right, and here again, we have the G305 on the left and the Logitech G Pro Wireless on the right. And so max DPI, the G Pro Wireless has 25,600 max DPI, and the G305 only, and I'm doing air quotes here, has 12,000. Again, 12,000 is more than enough. You're never going to need that much DPI, right? So in terms of DPI, both of these are are good enough. Consider them identical. They both have 0 smoothing, acceleration, and filtering. They're both using very similar internals. They both have a 1 millisecond report rate, so they're going to be fast. Both of these are going to be great for FPS gaming or any games where you need quick reflexes or response times. You're going to be great with either one of these. A side note here. I was sketchy about wireless mice for the longest time, right? My G Pro wireless is just as responsive as my wired G502, which I've also done a review on before. The time has passed where my wireless mice can't keep up, especially Logitech's mice. They're pretty much the top of the game right there. Onboard profiles. The G305 only has 1 onboard profile, while the G Pro Wireless has 5 onboard profiles. And that's important for me because I do switch it up based off of the game I'm playing. I'm going to have a different mouse, whether I'm playing a flight, a space sim like Elite Dangerous, which I don't use a joystick for, and that's personal preference, or if I'm playing a first-person shooter like Insurgency Sandstorm or even New World. I'm going to have completely different DPIs that I swap between. And speaking of onboard profiles and DPIs, so on the G305, you adjust the DPI with this button here, right? You can program it for any of the other buttons, but it's for this one. On the G Pro Wireless, it's this button here that almost doesn't even look like a button. And at first, I thought that would be an issue for me, but it's very easy for me to pick it up and just click the bottom right there. And there's no misclicks, right? So there's no times where I bumped my DPI to 3000 with the G Pro Wireless when I should have been at 400, 800 or something of that nature. Battery life, the G305 has a much longer battery life at 250 hours. So if this is something you're taking to go with you, this is going to be the one. And also because it takes, regular batteries, AA or AAA, depending on if you use the mod. And so if you're using this for a laptop or something of that nature, I'd go with the G305 because you're going to be able to have extra batteries on you and you're not going to need to charge and when you might not have an outlet handy. The G Pro Wireless has 48 to 60 hour battery life, but since it uses the Logitech G PowerPlay wireless charging system, anything above 24 hours is really just extra, right? Also, one fact I forgot to point out about the G Pro Wireless is that you can actually have 2 extra buttons here, or you can just swap them for left-handed usage. You can't do that on the G305. So if you're a lefty, the G Pro Wireless is going to be the way to go. And I thought I would use these buttons here, these extra buttons for like MMOs or things like that, but I found myself misclicking them all the time. So keep that in consideration if you're trying to get this to get extra buttons versus just swapping it for left-handed. Ooh, I really hit that camera there. Let's see if this one lands on the blooper reel. All right. In short, I prefer the G Pro Wireless. I love the wireless charging system, the less weight, even though I probably can't actually tell the difference. I feel like it's just better for me in performance in games and using it daily. I work for 8 hours a day and more. And then I'm also gaming at my computer, so my hand's on this mouse pretty much all day, as well as the keyboards I've been building. Again, and by the way, this is a KBD 67 Lite, and I'll be doing a video on that as well as the back and neck you saw in some of the other shots. I'd go, all things the same. I'd go with the G Pro Wireless, especially if you're left-handed, if the weight matters to you, and the 5 onboard profiles. But if you're just looking for stuff like report rate and max DPI, either one of these are going to be great for you, and this is going to be a much cheaper option for you, which is going to give you just the same gaming performance as the G Pro Wireless. And there you have it. The G305 and the G Pro Wireless, both by Logitech, are excellent mice in really any situation, whether you're gaming or using them for office work or even just browsing the internet. Now, the main thing that's going to separate your decision between the two is price, whether or not you need the extra onboard profiles, whether or not you really need that higher DPI, which you don't, or if you want support for the Logitech PowerPlay system. Now, as always, if you found the video helpful, please consider giving it a like, hit that subscribe button, maybe even that bell if you want to be notified when I put out new content. It's free to do, and it does help me support the channel. If you ever want to chat live, I do stream on Twitch, although my schedule has been a little all over the place because I've been busy, but feel free to follow me. I'll put that in the link below. I'll also have links below to pick up a G305 or a G Pro Wireless, and disclaimer, those will be affiliate links, but again, it's another way to help support the channel. If you folks want me to do reviews on any other mice, let me know. I'm probably going to be doing some keyboard reviews coming up. I've been on a little bit of a binge, and I've gone down that rabbit hole of custom mechanical keyboards, so expect some of that content coming soon. As always, I'm OllieBeanz from iFreaking Love This. I'll see you in the next video. Be good to each other.